Have you ever wondered why we exchange wedding rings on the most important day of our lives? A tiny circle of metal, yet it carries a promise of eternity. But where did this tradition come from? Who first came up with it? And how did it become the universal symbol of eternal love across the world? What if I told you that this timeless symbol of love wasn't always about romance? That in fact, it once meant something very different. Not a vow between two hearts, but a declaration of ownership. Welcome to Origin Stories, where we travel back in time to uncover the hidden roots of the world around us. Today, we embark on a journey spanning over 5,000 years to explore the fascinating story of the wedding ring. A small object, yet one that carries centuries of culture, faith, and human love stories. Its journey is not a straight line of glittering history, but a loop full of transformations. From a simple reed along the Nile to the iron bands of Rome, and finally to the sparkling diamond rings we admire today. Let's begin right now. Our story begins some 5,000 years ago in one of the most dazzling civilizations of history, ancient Egypt. Here, along the fertile banks of the Nile, archaeologists have uncovered the very first traces of rings exchanged between men and women. But don't imagine gold or gemstones just yet. The very first wedding rings were humble, woven from reeds, rushes, or strips of leather. Fragile things that might last no more than a year before falling apart. So why would something so delicate become the chosen token of love? Because to the Egyptians, it wasn't the material that mattered most, but the shape. The circle, with no beginning and no end, was a sacred symbol of eternity. When a man gave a woman a ring, he wasn't simply offering a gift. He was giving her a symbol of endless love, of a life together with no final chapter. The circle on her finger was like a doorway into a shared future, a bond that could not be broken. And the finger they chose wasn't random either. Egyptians, and later the Romans, believed the fourth finger on the left hand, what we now call the ring finger, carried a special vein running directly to the heart. They called it the vena amoris, the vein of love. Romantic, isn't it? Imagine a young Egyptian man kneeling before the woman he loves, slipping onto her hand a simple ring he had braided himself. That fragile circle became a promise, binding their two hearts together, beating as one. Of course, modern medicine tells us this vein to the heart story is just a beautiful myth. All fingers share the same network of blood vessels. But that romantic belief laid the foundation for a tradition that has lasted thousands of years, one we still follow today. Over time, reeds gave way to sturdier materials, bone, ivory, or leather. Symbols of love made stronger and more enduring. Yet the essence remained unchanged. A voluntary promise, a circle of eternity, and the language of romantic love. As the circle of the ring rolled westward into the mighty and pragmatic Roman Empire, its meaning began to change in surprising ways. Welcome to Rome, a land of laws, contracts, and order. For the Romans, marriage wasn't just about love. It was a social contract, a serious business arrangement. And the wedding ring, in their world, carried a very different weight. The Roman wedding ring, called the annulus pronubis, was usually made of iron, not gold, not silver. Why iron? Because to the Romans, iron symbolized strength, permanence, and unbreakable bonds.
The ring wasn't a decoration, it was a contract, a symbol of a deal that could not be undone. And here lies the crucial difference. When a Roman man placed a ring on his bride's hand, it wasn't a romantic gesture. It was a public declaration. This woman belongs to me. That iron band signaled to the world that she was no longer free. Her rights, her future, her very life now fell under the authority of her husband-to-be. The ring was less about love and more about ownership. In fact, this tradition was tied to the practice of the groom buying the bride from her father. The ring served as part of that payment, a token of guarantee in the transaction. Some Roman rings even took on a more practical form, the key ring. This ring came with a tiny key attached, which could open household chests containing valuables. On the surface, it might look like a symbol of trust, but in truth, it reinforced the idea that the wife was now the keeper of her husband's household and property. Romans also pioneered another custom, wearing 2 rings. At home, the bride wore a simple iron ring, but in public, she could display a golden one, a way for her husband to show off his wealth and status through her hand. And here's another first. The Romans began engraving messages onto their rings. Not always sweet or romantic, though. One ancient ring bore the inscription Tertius Amicum, Tertius's friend. Was it a wedding ring? A gift to a lover? Historians are still debating. From Egypt to Rome, the wedding ring had already traveled a long road. It began as a symbol of eternal love, but in Rome, it became a seal of contracts, a mark of possession. But history doesn't stop there. A new faith was rising, one that would completely redefine the meaning of this small circle once again.
As the Roman Empire crumbled, a new power rose to shape the future of Western civilization, Christianity. But in the beginning, the Church wasn't too fond of rings. To early Christian leaders, the wedding ring was a remnant of pagan Rome, a symbol of worldly contracts and material deals. They believed marriage was a sacred sacrament before God, not a business transaction. And so, for centuries, wedding rings nearly disappeared from Christian ceremonies. So what changed? The turning point came in the year 860. Pope Nicholas I declared, for the very first time, that the giving of a ring was an accepted part of Christian betrothal. He described the ring as a pledge of fidelity. This was revolutionary. Instead of erasing the custom, the Church redefined it. The ring was no longer proof that this woman belongs to this man. It became a holy sign that these two people belong to God and to each other. From then on, the marriage vow was no longer just between husband and wife. It became a three-way covenant: man, woman, and God. This sacred interpretation inspired new designs filled with religious meaning. One of the most famous was the fede ring, from the Italian word for faith. Its design showed two hands clasped together, symbolizing union and loyalty. An even more intricate design was the gimel ring, made of 2 or 3 interlocking bands that fit together perfectly as one. During the betrothal, the man and woman each wore a piece. On the wedding day, they joined the bands together on the bride's finger, signifying that 2 separate lives had now become one, inseparable. The Church also required that wedding rings be made of precious metals, gold or silver, not iron or bronze. Why? Because a holy sacrament deserved a worthy vessel. Gold, untarnished and radiant, became the perfect symbol of a love that was noble and enduring through the tests of time. By the Middle Ages, the wedding ring had been wrapped in sacred meaning, faith, fidelity, and divine blessing.
But something was still missing, a touch of sparkle, a hint of grandeur to not only show love, but also status. That touch would come with the dawn of a new age, the Renaissance.
The Renaissance had arrived, an age of art, science, and dazzling luxury. Europe's nobility, growing ever wealthier, began searching for new ways to display their status. And once again, the wedding ring became their stage. The moment that sparked the age of the diamond came in 1477. Archduke Maximilian of Austria, ruler of the Netherlands, proposed to Mary of Burgundy, one of the wealthiest heiresses in Europe. He didn't choose a simple gold band. Instead, he commissioned a ring set with tiny diamonds arranged in the shape of the letter M for Mary. Why diamonds? Because diamonds were unlike any other gemstone known at the time. They were the hardest, most enduring stones in existence, unbreakable by fire, unscarred by steel. To gift a diamond was to send a powerful message. My love for you is as eternal and unshakable as this stone. Maximilian's gesture set a trend that swept across Europe. Nobles and elites began competing to present the most lavish engagement and wedding rings. It wasn't just about love anymore. It was about power, prestige, and family legacy. A proposal needed more than sincerity. Sometimes it needed the weight of diamonds. But romance in this age wasn't only carved in gemstones. It was also etched in words. Alongside diamond rings, another style grew popular, the poesy ring. The word poesy comes from French, meaning poetry. These gold rings carried short inscriptions inside, little verses, declarations of love, or secret promises known only to the couple. Imagine it, a ring that was not just jewelry, but a hidden love letter. Each time the wearer slipped it off, they could read the whispered words engraved within. Mon cœur est à vous, my heart is yours. Amour vencit omnia, love conquers all. Or simply, my love. Thus, during the Renaissance, the wedding ring reached a perfect balance. Outwardly, it was a bold statement of wealth and power. Inwardly, it was a private token of affection, a treasure of the heart. Yet, across 5,000 years of history so far, from Egypt to Rome to the Middle Ages and now the Renaissance, one thing remained constant. Wedding rings were almost always worn by women. So when and why did men begin wearing them too? The answer lies in one of the most turbulent and tragic chapters of modern history. For thousands of years, the wedding ring was a symbol worn almost exclusively by women. It marked a woman's transition from single to married. Men, by tradition, wore no such sign. But the 20th century changed everything. 2 world wars swept across the globe, sending millions of men away from home, leaving behind their wives, sometimes just days after the wedding. On the battlefield, far from family, soldiers began wearing wedding rings. For them, the ring was not about ownership nor status. It was a lifeline, a tangible reminder of the woman waiting at home, of the peaceful life they were fighting to protect. In the chaos of war, that small circle of metal became an anchor of hope, a spark of love carried into the darkest of places. The practice spread slowly during World War I, but by World War II, it had become widespread. Newspapers, films, and photos of soldiers with rings on their hands made it a symbol of devotion and loyalty. Society embraced it,
And when the war was over, men continued the habit. From that moment on, the double ring ceremony became common in the West. Not only did the groom give a ring to the bride, but the bride also placed a ring on his hand. A gesture of equality, of symmetry. No longer a one-sided declaration, but a mutual vow. Two wives bound together by matching circles of love. And then came a powerful force that shaped the modern image of the wedding ring: marketing. In the mid-20th century, after the Great Depression, the diamond market was collapsing. That's when the mining giant De Beers launched one of the most successful advertising campaigns in history. In 1947, copywriter Francis Geraghty penned 4 words that changed everything. "A diamond is forever." Those words connected the physical qualities of diamonds, durability, permanence, with humanity's deepest desire, eternal love. The campaign convinced millions that a real proposal, a true love, demanded a diamond ring. They transformed diamonds from a luxury into a necessity, a cultural expectation. From then on, the diamond ring wasn't just an option. It became the symbol of marriage in the modern imagination. Thus, men's wedding rings were born out of war, and diamond rings were immortalized by advertising. By the mid-20th century, the wedding ring had nearly completed its journey in the West. But the circle kept rolling, across borders, into countless cultures around the world.
Today, the Western tradition of exchanging wedding rings has spread almost everywhere, becoming a familiar sight in modern weddings across the globe. Yet, as it travels, each culture reshapes it in its own unique way. In countries like Germany, Austria, Poland, Norway, and even India, engagement rings are often worn on the left hand. But once the couple marries, the wedding ring is moved to the right hand. Why? Because the right hand has long been seen as the hand of oath, the hand of honor and solemn vows. In Jewish weddings, the groom traditionally places the ring on the bride's index finger, the most visible finger. After the ceremony, she usually moves it to the ring finger. In India, alongside a gold band, married women may also wear a special toe ring called bichya, marking their new status. In our time, the wedding ring has broken free from rigid rules. It doesn't have to be gold or diamond anymore. Rings can be made of titanium, wood, or even silicone. Couples engrave fingerprints, the coordinates of where they first met, or even the sound wave of those 3 words, "I love you." The small circle has come full circle. It began as a symbol of eternity, more spiritual than material. It became a contract, a seal of ownership, then a mark of wealth, then a sacred vow, and finally, a shared symbol of equality and personal love. Today, it is whatever 2 people choose it to be. So, we've just traveled 5,000 years through the story of the wedding ring. From a reed by the Nile, symbolizing endless love, to the iron bands of Rome, a seal of contract, to the sacred vows of the Middle Ages, to the diamond brilliance and whispered poetry of the Renaissance, to the wartime bonds of the 20th century, and now a global tradition redefined by every couple who wears it. The next time you see a wedding ring, I hope you won't just see jewelry. You'll see a story, humanity's story, of how we've defined love, marriage, and commitment through the ages. And perhaps the true meaning of a ring isn't in its material, its price, or even its long history. Its meaning lies in the story 2 people create with it every single day. That was the journey of the wedding ring. Which part surprised you the most? Or do you know of any other unique ring traditions around the world? Share your thoughts in the comments below.
We'd love to hear your story. If you found this video fascinating and learned something new, please support our channel with a like and a subscription. It's the greatest encouragement for us to keep traveling back in time, uncovering the origins of the world around us. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode of Origin Stories.